Question number 5, Honourable David Parker.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Finance, does he stand by all his statements?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, yes, in the context in which they were made. However, I do need to note there needs to be some form of statute of limitations. If the member wants to discuss economic policy from the 1970s, that is a long time ago, and I may not be able to recall every statement I made when I was still at school.
Supplementary question, Honourable David Parker.
Does he stand by his statement that the export manufacturing sector is in good heart, given that manufactured exports outside of the primary sector have declined 21.3% in real terms since he took office?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I think that the member is once again trying to take the manufacturing statistics. He needs to tell us whether he's removing what sort of primary sector manufacturing, which is, after all, weirdly, a fair bit of New Zealand's manufacturing. He pulls that out, and then he tries to discuss about it in real terms despite the GFC. So I have no idea how he's managed to concoct this particular question. But, Mr Speaker, the reality is manufacturing in this country is in expansion and has been for the last 19 months.
Supplementary question, Honourable David Parker.
Are manufactured exports in the non-primary sector down 21.3% in real dollars from December 2008 to December 2013, the latest dates for which we have statistics?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, asking the same question by reading it off the BlackBerry doesn't change the question, and it doesn't change the answer, Mr Speaker. I know the member wants to talk New Zealand manufacturing down, but he can't. It's growing strongly in this country.
Speaker.
Point of order, Honourable David Parker.
It was a very specific question, Mr Speaker, and it has not been addressed.
Well, no. The difficulty I have is it was effectively a repeat of the question earlier, and there was no doubt in my mind that that was very, in quite lengthy fashion, addressed by the Minister in the previous question, and the second supplementary, in my mind, effectively asked the same question again. I'll listen to the... I'd be grateful for the assistance. Honourable David Parker.
You have told members on this side of the House, Mr Speaker, that if a question is not properly addressed to the satisfaction of the opposition, we have to remedy that by asking it effectively again. I have done that, and the question still hasn't been answered.
Yeah, no, my difficulty is the question in my mind was quite adequately answered in the first supplementary. I accept not to the member's satisfaction, but the Minister went through quite a detailed explanation of... Well, I'm on my feet, and I'm saying that to me he did anyway, except that he might not have to the satisfaction of the Minister, but to the member. But he went through quite a detailed explanation about how New Zealand's primary exporter, and therefore a lot of our manufacturing is associated with the primary sector, etc., and gave justification for that. The member then rises and repeats a second question, which is effectively the same, and I've ruled that it's been addressed because of the first primary. Point of order, Grant Robertson.
Mr Speaker, every member of the House is entitled to ask the questions they want, so long as they're within standing orders. And my colleague David Parker did that. The second question he asked actually was more specific and included up-to-date statistics. The Minister could get up and repeat the answer that he'd given. Instead, he gave another answer that had attacked various people and didn't address the question. I believe the Minister has a responsibility to answer the question that the Honourable David Parker asked. And perhaps he could ask it again and we could actually get an answer to it.
Well, I think the way I'll hear from the Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Speaking to the point of order, Mr Speaker, the difficulty that I was trying to point out to the member is that it's very difficult because he often tries to come up with different statistics at a different
order. This is a point of order, and it will be heard in
of
silence.
The manufacturing sector. Now, happy to repeat it again, but it's difficult to know what he means by primary sector. Does he include, for example, forestry, processing services, those sorts of things? If he wants to put it down as a written PQ, I'd be happy to.
Order. Well, I accepted that it was a point of order. It was helping me with making further. So I think the way forward is I will allow the member to ask an additional supplementary. I certainly hope we get a new supplementary, but I can't instruct the member, the Honourable David Parker, that it must be one. Honourable David Parker, supplementary question.
Are non-primary manufactured exports, as measured by the Department of Statistics, down 21.3% in real dollars between December 2008 and December 2013?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, it depends what the member means by non-primary sector export. Give me well, for example, if you include the construction sector, which of course includes timber processing, that would be one, and that has actually gone down but it's now coming up again. So, no, I don't just say yes because the opposition thinks so. They need to go and have a little weekend off.
Supplementary question, Honourable David Parker.
Why won't he support the manufacturing export sector and the jobs therein by introducing accelerated depreciation for capital investment, given that under current settings, investment and jobs and exports in that sector are all down?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, you see that's where the member is incorrect. They're not down, they are up and they are growing, and employment is growing, and the performance of manufacturing index has been in positive growth territory now for 19 months. And if the member thinks that on the one hand placing a capital gains tax and a higher cost ETS on productive businesses and then trying to mitigate it a little bit by giving them a accelerated depreciation would actually grow the manufacturing sector, then he is sadly wrong.
Supplementary question, Honourable David Parker.
Why did the Minister of Finance criticise Stephen Joyce and Moby when he said regarding chorus and broadband last week, quotes, "You'd think government would have enough regulatory experience to understand the implications of that sort of provision, and I don't think they did"?
Honourable Stephen Joyce on behalf
Mr
of the Minister.
Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I'm confident that he didn't criticise the other minister, and actually the other minister is a very good friend of mine. I think he does a pretty good job on behalf of the Minister of Finance.
Question, order.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Claire Curran. Order. Claire Curran, supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Why did he, as Minister of Finance, think Stephen Joyce, as the former Minister of Communications and IT, got it wrong regarding chorus on copper network pricing when he said, quote, "If you think the result was unpredictable, then that's poor policy process when the provisions went in the legislation"?
Honourable Stephen
Well,
Joyce.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, this is a good day to be answering questions on his behalf, and I disagree with the member's interpretation. Actually, it is a challenging policy area, but it's important to point out that the UFB is 25% built now, and if that member had had her way, we wouldn't have even started.
Question number 6, Alfred Nardo.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Social Development.